And so again, so Ayesha, she's responsible for leading and overseeing comprehensive diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives that foster an inclusive and supportive workplace culture. This includes designing and implementing DEI programs to educate employees and provide awareness, analyzing and leveraging engagement survey data to drive informed decisions and improvements, and developing DEI strategies that align with the business goals for sustainable impact. So with over 2 decades of professional experience, Ayesha has held various leadership positions in human resources. She's a native of Atlanta, Georgia. Ayesha is dedicated to community service through her involvement with Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and the Junior League of Atlanta, where she currently serves as the DEI director on the board of directors. And in her free time, Ayesha loves to travel, spend time with her family and friends, and also to go to the Falcons games. She didn't include that. And so last but certainly not least, we have Ms. Cheryl Pressley. Cheryl leads data analytics and innovation at a major utility company. Her role involves enhancing the use of data analytics to facilitate data-driven decisions for high-priority projects. She possesses a rich background in artificial intelligence, data analytics, and technology, showcasing proven leadership and expertise in driving innovative solutions. Cheryl is in the Junior League of Atlanta as well. She's also a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Also, she's a part of Technology Association of Georgia and Microsoft Business Applications Customer Advisory Board. Cheryl resides in Atlanta, Georgia, with her husband and her daughter. So if you all would please, real quick hand clap for these ladies who are joining us today. So thank you so very much. And what I will ask is if you have questions, please feel free to put those in the chat. We're going to dedicate the last 15 minutes of our session for any questions. So feel free to put them in the chat. And again, or just write them down and we'll address them at the end, okay? All right. Are you ladies excited and ready to go into the conversation? Ayesha, Cheryl, Alexis, y'all ready? All right.
We are.
Okay, fantastic. So I kind of broke the sessions down in different areas. So where we will talk about leadership as a Black woman, making space for other Black women, their personal journeys, they'll discuss those, the potential of Black women as a Black woman as president, rewriting corporate narratives, visibility and impact, and overcoming marginalization, and changing the corporate landscape for Black women. So those are some of the topics that we're going to discuss tonight. And I'm going to go around the room and ask each lady a question or open it up to all of them as well. So I do want to start on the topic of leadership as a Black woman. So I'm going to start with you, Ayesha, if you don't mind. What unique challenges have you faced as a Black woman in leadership, and how did you overcome those?
Thank you, Ayesha, first of all, for the invite. I'm super excited to be here tonight. And I think most of us on the call, if you have been in the work world for any number of years, you know that as a Black woman, we have a few challenges, 2 of which is our gender and our race that, we can't do anything about. And I think for me, some unique challenges that I face is really around being underestimated and undervalued in my roles. And so it is very challenging when people, I feel like I'm in corporate America. So let me level set. I'm in corporate America and I work for a construction management firm. So I want to level set kind of where I am right now in my career and where I work. And I find that I have been in positions where I get great performance reviews. I'm being told I'm doing all of the things, but for some reason can't kind of make that next step up the ladder, right? And I feel that sometimes I've seen where people think that we as Black women should just basically take what we're given. You should be happy with the roles that you've given. You should be happy that you've, gotten a promotion. You should be happy and just kind of sit and wait. And I feel that that is something that we, especially me, have been challenged with, being underestimated and undervalued. And then that leads into promotional opportunities where you've been overlooked for promotional opportunities, right? And you've been told, just wait a little bit of time, take another development course, take another class, shadow with this person. So those are some of the things that I think are unique to us as Black women, among some other things, but those are the two that I find have been most challenging for me. How I've overcome them is really around starting to be more strategic and watch what's happening around me and how my male counterparts, how they move, right? Who do they know?
That's
Who
smart.
can I
Yeah.
have mentor me? Who can I now have sponsor me? Moving out of the mentorship, moving into the sponsorship. And I will tell you, at this current company, I've been there 5.5 years, and I've really kind of seen things turn over and change for me by being more strategic and watching the people that I need to align myself with, and then starting to ask for things, asking for help, asking for mentorship. Those kind of things that I think naturally we just don't do because we try to do things on our own, and we don't use the resources that we have right in front of us that a lot of our male counterparts will.
Very good. That was definitely great information, things that I can take away, things that I've learned myself. So thank you very much for sharing that with us. So Cheryl, how do you navigate spaces where you might be the only Black woman in leadership? Like, what advice would you give someone in that position?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me today. I'm excited about this topic, and I think it's valuable to all of us, no matter where we are in our career. So as I mentioned, I work at a large utility here in Atlanta. I'm sure most people know what that is. And I spent most of my career in IT, but most recently in 2022, I moved into the business of power delivery. And so I am in a male-dominated field, and I'll be more specific, white male dominated field. You know, a lot of these people have started their careers at 18 as linemen and worked their way up through the company. So they've built lots of relationships. And that is one of the things that I have learned throughout my entire career, is that first and foremost, the relationships are everything. Building connections to people, that has been the most critical thing that I probably could have done from the very beginning of starting as a developer up into my role as a leadership today. Ayesha mentioned sponsors and mentors. Those are people that are critical to your career as well. They are pouring into you personally, but they are also providing context to who you are as a person and as a leader or as an individual out to other people. So when the opportunities come, there's always already information about you. So the job opportunities will come on their own. But what do you do personally? I think one of the biggest things is not only do you build the relationships, but you bring your personal style to the table. One of the things that's wonderful about Black women is that we are unique and we're going to bring who we are to the table. I say do not discount that. That's why you are there. You are something different. You are something that is not the standard, and you have a lot to give. And I think if we remind ourselves of that, the leadership journey is a little easier. It's not insurmountable, but bringing ourselves means that we're going to always be truthful to the things that we believe in, the things that we're going to accomplish, and the goals we're going to set. If you try to do anything else differently, you're going to fail. So trusting that you understand your space and your role and how you've gotten there is honestly the most foundational thing we can do and remind ourselves of each and every day when we're in these spaces, when we're by ourselves, because there are other women around us that have been there as well. And they brought their authentic self to their personal authentic self to the table.
Thank you, Cheryl. I think that was fantastic. Especially when you're in a space where it's unique, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're unique to that space, you're unique to that role. And so I think that's really great advice for anybody else that's in that same, situation as well. Alexis, did you want to add anything to that or?
And I don't know if this will be part of a later answer. I think they both gave excellent perspectives. I think I have a unique vantage point, so I watch and just learn. And I love the sponsorship and the mentorship. Some spaces get you in, some spaces take you places where your name would never be mentioned. So both are necessary. But also, I've learned from watching, you get your mentors, but you need somebody, again, who's in a space you wouldn't be privy to, that will help point you and guide you and orchestrate your journey to the leadership level. So in your looking and your watching, and I'm gonna mention this I think later on too, see how the game is played, and then bring your authenticity to the game and play it your way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I like that.
Very well said.
Yeah, I absolutely. Yeah, I really do like that, Alexis. And so I'm going to ask you another question, Alexis, as well. So this is around making space for other Black women. So how do you actively create opportunities for other Black women to succeed in your organization or your field?
This is something that I've personally been a little more intentional about. Leaders watch and they see who are the shining stars. And I look and see what ethnic folks are shining stars, and the stars might not be seen at other levels. And so I'll recommend or mention a name. Have you seen such and such? Have you seen what they have done? Have you met such and such? So I've started mentioning names to the C-suite where I am available. I've orchestrated some get-to-knows. If I see you and I think you're doing a great job and I'm okay to put my name with yours, I will gladly step forth and mention you and introduce you. And I've also taken some people to the side and say, I've seen your work ethic, you're doing great, but are you getting to know people? Are you putting yourself out there? I'll challenge the person, what are you doing to advocate for you in this space? Do you want to be where you are and a career goal watch person at this level? Okay. But if you want to grow, what are you doing about it? Have you talked to this person? She's done this, this, and that. Have you talked to that person? He knows a lot about that. So even just pointing and guiding them. And I watch to see what you do with the information I give you. Are you just like, she don't know what you're talking about? Or do you listen and say, you know what, I met with such and such. It was great. And she's going to introduce me to such and such. So I think my intentional part is I'm introducing, I am mentioning your name, and I'm helping guide and point you in the direction if you take the advice.
And I think that's the most important part, if the person takes the advice. Mm-hmm. Like you said, you're not obligated to necessarily follow through with mm-hmm. what you've given to them. It's totally up to them. And I think that's great advice as well, especially when people are trying to give that to you or trying to show you, a different mm-hmm. way, a new way to do things, and mm-hmm. give you sometimes we ignore it. Sometimes we think we can do it on our own or in a different way. So thank you for sharing that. Mm-hmm. So Ayesha, Alexis, I won't ask you another question right now. Alexis is like, what? So Ayesha, what are some barriers that prevent Black women from advancing in leadership? And how can we work together to dismantle them?
That's a great question. And it's right up my alley with the work that I'm doing now in the DEI space. I think some of them that come to the top of my mind is really that whole trope about Black women being angry. We run into that quite often. We can't say things like maybe our white female counterparts can without it seeming that we're coming off negatively, not knowing the right people. I think we've talked about that, but I think I can't be more, I want to make sure we drive the point home, the right people. And Alexis said something about how she gets involved and starts to put people's names out there. One of the first people that I get to know anytime I go to a new department or a new company is the executive assistant, the office manager, and the IT folk. Those are the first people I get to know, not because they can help me necessarily get my computer up and running, but it's because they know all of the people and they start to help you connect dots. So starting to be more strategic about the people that we know. And sometimes us as Black women, we're just in there working our little selves to death, working our little selves to the bone, trying to make sure that people see the value in what we're doing and giving a good work product, but we're not being strategic. So we want to give a good work product, but we also want to make sure that the people that need to see the good work product can see it. And that is usually through some of the people that I've mentioned that we need to know. And who are those people outside of our departments that can be strategic? I'll give you a case in point. I was in the HR space before I moved into the DEI space. And in my organization, HR and DEI are two different departments. I'm in the operations group. I am not under HR, so it's not a compliance lien, and it's intentional at our company. But what I was exposed to in my HR career with this company is our chief strategy officer, which is a white woman. But I noticed that she was very, very interested in me and my career. And so I started to leverage and start to ask her for feedback, and she did me the same. So when there are opportunities for her to want to grow, to ascend to the next level for her, which would be the CEO of our organization, she in turn did the same thing for me. So it's those are the kind of relationships you want to start to build. And if you're not at the point of being able to be in front of C-level people, do it at the level that you are. Whatever level you're at right now, who are those people? And also let's be working toward that next job. Let's not get so bogged down into the current role you're in, but what are the things and the attributes that you need for that next level role, and start working in that. So I think those are some barriers that we just don't know how to play the game, to Alexis's point, while everybody else is playing the game around us. You have to be very strategic, and you're playing chess, not checkers, right? And then I think the last thing I'll say is that there's limited career development opportunities for us. Again, from my personal experience, I went through a leadership development program that our company offers at UNC's business school. I had the opportunity to go to that leadership development program. I was the only not only the only Black woman, I was the only Black person in a class of over 50 people. And that class is given once a year. So when you get an opportunity to get in those spaces, then now I can recommend other people. Hey, you know what? I think this person would be good. I've gone through Skanska Leadership Academy now, or the company's Leadership Academy. And here are some people that I think would serve well to go through that same program. So the thing that I have at the top of this is making sure that we see our sisters that we're working alongside and try to help pull them up. And everybody ain't ready, so don't try to do this for everybody. But you'll see one or two sisters at work that you're like, I see myself in them, and you want to bring them along. We cannot be in roles where we're the only, which a lot of us are, always the only, and remain the only. And so I'll talk about it a little bit later if you ask the question around bringing other people in. If you're not in a position to hire, then be in a position to recommend someone in your department, another Black woman, and bring her in, right? And help mentor her in that way by bringing her into your organization. If you have the ability to hire, then hire well-qualified Black women. They make you look good, and so you're gonna automatically look good when they come in and click on all cylinders, right? And so those are some of the things that I think are barriers for us. Long-winded.
No, you're fine. No, those are great, definitely great points, great tips. Cheryl, you want to add something?
Yeah, well, I think one of the things that we need to also remember is that we need to be willing to raise our hand for things outside of our normal job. Those are the opportunities that leaders look for. It's like, oh, she has her day job, but she is going outside of her normal work requirements to do these projects. Those are the things that get you out in front of executives and in front of a larger audience. People don't put enough value in that. And yes, it may mean you doing stuff after hours or on the weekend, but you have to decide what is your career journey and take on some of those challenging projects that are outside of your normal job, because those are where the relationships are built. They see that you are a go-getter, you're dedicated to doing what's best for the company, and that's how people are going to see you. So it's super important to be willing to do that. And yes, most of us have have children and families. Do not let that be a barrier to your trajectory up. We all figure out how to get it done. Sometimes you may be working at 8 o'clock at night to finish a project, but they don't need to know that. You just need to get the work done, right? So those are the things we need to remember as we're keeping the journey on our career.
Yeah. No, that's really good as well, especially like you said, out working outside of or doing something different. And are you talking about like an extra project or something like that? Okay, got you.
Raising your hand to do something that you normally wouldn't do. That's how you want to see that you're willing to expand yourself, to develop yourself beyond what you're doing today. Yes.
Okay. Yes, Ayesha.
Yep. Really quickly, Cheryl brought up something, the stretch assignments, absolutely. There are opportunities where they may not have manpower or woman power to do a certain project, And they're like, we would love to do that. We just don't have the bandwidth. And that's where I say you raise your hand. And to Cheryl's point, the other thing as a barrier that I forgot to mention was, and Cheryl reminded me, is the children, the women. We have multi things that we're trying to do. We're balancing professional and personal. And I think sometimes that is a big barrier for us. Sometimes we can't just be mobile and move companies. The good thing is that one good thing that came out of COVID is now we can do things more remotely. So we have those opportunities. But if you work for an organization where you have to kind of move around or, make other concessions, sometimes that can be a challenge for us because we are holding down, in some cases, not only our immediate family, but the rest of our family as well. So
absolutely. And I think to your point, that's what does stop a lot of women in particular from raising their hand, from stepping up, or even thinking I can go the next level to the next step, but I have all these other things in the background that may not allow me to. But I feel like if you have somebody that's really good as far as a manager, a leader, whomever, a sponsor, mentor, that's in your corner, it can work. It definitely can. And they can give you advice on how to do that as well. So great advice, ladies. Thank you so much. Cheryl, I do want to kind of go back to leadership as a Black woman. So what are some misconceptions people have about Black women in leadership roles, and how do you address that? Especially in the space that you're in.
That we are only focused on our job, that we're not relatable, that we're not caring. We are very much so. We're probably the most dedicated to our jobs out of anyone that I've ever seen. And so what I've learned is part of it is bringing a softer side to us. We can bring the information and the facts, but it's the delivery of that information that is critical, because we are such strong women who, when we say something, we mean it and we know it, because we're not going to say it if we don't. And so finding a soft way to deliver the information that is not off-putting, I think, is one of the most valuable things that we can learn to do, especially around men. I want to say in technology, one of the things that women learn to do early is, first of all, listen to the men and just kind of listen and watch how they operate. They actually don't know as much detail as we do. They are very high level. They are good at selling and promoting themselves, and they know very little. But those are the things I think we have to pick up from them. And I've learned that in my career. These guys are excelling and they know nothing. They know way less than I do. And I'm sitting here grinding. So one of the best things I think we can do is watch them, learn from them, still know all the things we need to know, because they're going to ask us the question, and use that to our advantage and kind of style ourselves. I'm not going to say be like them, but pick up some key nuggets from them to figure out how they're moving forward. And again, it all comes down to networking. Well, some of the things that I have struggled with, because I am a natural introvert, is going out after hours when I'm tired and I want a nap, going to dinner, going and hanging out, or going golfing, attending some of these activities and events. That's where all of their job opportunities are made. It's not in the office. It is outside of the office, at these conferences, out on the golf course, at these tournaments, dinner. We have to be willing to take a little bit of time out of our schedule to do those same things and say, because I think one of the things we do is set ourselves apart.
So the elders can sit chairs.
We set ourselves apart by not attending some of those activities. I'm not saying we have to do all of it, but that is one of the biggest barriers that we have as well to rising into the next level of leadership. So I think really that's the biggest thing. Again, I think just bring yourself. If people will get to know you and understand your style, and they will love it, and you will excel.
I think, and that's great advice. I also think, and I'll speak for myself, and I've worked with Ayesha, so Ayesha knows me as far as in a work environment. But what I've had to work on personally is, like you said, just not to diminish who you are, right? Like, speak up. Use that throat chakra. Like, you need to speak up. If you have a great idea, say it. Like, don't be ashamed to do that. And I think in so many spaces where you don't want to come across a certain way, for me, unbelievably, I will cower back. I will just sit there and I won't say too much. And I've had like a leader say, like, you know, people say that you don't really say a whole lot in the meetings. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm observing. I'm not just going to speak to speak. And I had another manager that said, no, I recognize that about you. Like when you do say something, it makes sense, it's meaningful, like you're not just speaking. And so I think, to your point, just bring your whole self, right? And then trust. If
what you're saying,
what were you gonna say, Cheryl?
I had a leader, a mentor say, don't sit back, speak up. Literally said, stop listening, start talking. They need to hear you. You know this.
Yes.
So sometimes we got to get out of our heads and say, you know what? It's okay to be partially wrong or not having. Say it. Hey, I don't have the answer right now. I will follow up with you and get you the information, but let them see who we are, because as women, we are afraid to just speak up and be wrong. Men don't have a problem with that.
Oh, listen, they be loud and wrong and strong. Okay.
That's right.
And then you be sitting in a meeting like this. That was wrong. But they have no shame. Like you said, it's like they fake it until they make it sometimes. And like you said, sometimes we don't do that because we want to make sure that we have it all together. Yes. Right? Like we have our stuff together. So, but no, thank you for that. Great stuff. So
and can
Alexis,
I say something, Ayesha, before you switch over to Alexis on that note?
Yeah.
We have unique perspectives that we need to make sure are heard. I think about what happened recently. If anybody knows about the Bath and Body Works candle that came out, it's this new candle that came out recently, and it had a snowflake on it. But if you look at the snowflake, really the way that it was, it looked like, I hate to say it, but it looked like KKK hats or little aliens or something. It's been recent. It's in the news in the last 2 weeks. But this is case in point, because I am in the DEI space. There was somebody in that room that also saw that half a snowflake, because it wasn't a whole snowflake. It was like a corner of a snowflake. Look it up, everybody, when you get off the call. Look for Bath and Body Works Christmas, this candle. It started a firestorm. But I said to a friend of mine, the right person didn't speak up in the room. And it could be critical to your organization. If you are in rooms and you hear something and you don't say it, things can happen that could blow up everything. So you have unique perspectives. I feel confident. If I was in that room, I would have said, that snowflake look like KKK hats. We probably want to do something different. I say that to drive home the point that if you're sitting here thinking about something in these meetings, in these rooms, it is incumbent upon you to say something, because that's when you set yourself apart. And it's like, oh my God, Cheryl said that, and now that I'm looking at it, you know what, Cheryl's absolutely correct. We have important things to say. We should not stifle ourselves because we're afraid of, being seen in a certain way or portrayed in a certain way, especially when it can help with business results. Always look at what we're doing, especially if you're in corporate America. How do you hit the bottom line? How do you support the organization? And as a Black woman, we have lots of ways that we can do this, but we cannot just sit and keep our mouth shut.
That is great advice. I did not know anything about the Bath and Body Works situation, so I will be looking that up. And like you said, somebody in that room did not speak up. Like more than likely they did see that. So thank you for bringing that up. Alexis, I want to go to you and ask you, can you share a story of how another Black woman supported your growth or success in your career?
Yeah. And when I think about that, there haven't been a lot of Black women higher up. Even in the administrative field, I say it's it's a hen nest, and they all look alike. And you have to try to hope to get to the nest. But there was one lady in Delta, Delta was the first EA I met there in corporate. I, of course, had other administrative friends and so forth, but she took me under her wing in such a special way. Like, she didn't gatekeep anything. Like, if she had access to it, I had access to it. If she knew about it, I knew about it. She's the one who we call it doing your homework. When you're privy to certain information, and a lot of times it can just go over your head, you pay it no attention. No, you do your homework and you see what's going on. Even if you don't say anything, you know what's going on within the company because you're privy to certain information. Instead like, I don't know what's going on. So she she taught me that. She also taught me another thing, which I've appreciated in corporate, is to enjoy the moment, because seasons change. Sometimes your company can be doing wonderfully well, and sometimes they can be letting folks off in a heartbeat. So if we're enjoying lobster today, enjoy lobster, because it might be bologna next year. So she has taught me enjoy the moment, enjoy the gifts, enjoy the perks, enjoy it all. And she opened me up to, like I said, just new experiences. I think I showered down because I'm like, I'm just the assistant. She's like, no, you are the assistant. There was a proudness and a umph to it that she helped cultivate inside of me. And so I still thank her to this day that she personally took it under, just took me under her wing intentionally and did not gatekeep, and showed me everything she knew I knew. And to the point where she was leaving and introduced my name to folks who wouldn't have known me, who said, no, I think you need to try her. So she, not only did she take me under her wing, she introduced me. She recommended me. She opened doors to things and activities that I didn't know we could even partake in, that just was mind blowing to me. She was, not too much information, was the first one to get me on the corporate jet. So I was like, didn't even know this was a thing. So again, I appreciate it, because had she not, nobody else would have told me. Nobody else would have shown me that you stay where you are, you do what you're doing, good job. But she was like, no, we have access to more, and here's the more. So yes, and because she did that, I try to do it.
No, you're fine. I was gonna say, I love that. And the fact that,
Okay.
like you said, she did that for you, and you try to do that for others as well. Because if we can all be truthful on this call and on this panel, that does not happen, right? Like, we don't always have individuals that look like us that reach back and pull us up. And so when you do have someone that is a gem like Delta, to do that, I think that's a treasure, because it doesn't always happen. And yes, I love that she did that for you too. Ashanti said, yes, I do too. Because again, it doesn't happen. Like, I could go to an organization and try to think, oh, she'll be a great mentor, or she'll be a great sponsor. And they give you the cold shoulder, right? Or they don't give you any information at all. That just recently happened to me with someone on my team, like someone who looks just like me, right? Like, but is not the friendliest at all. And now everybody else is offering stuff, but this particular person is not offering anything. And so, look, maybe about 10, 15 years ago, that would have hurt my feelings. And now at the good big age of 51, I sit there and I say, okay, then I'll just ask somebody else, right? Like, you don't hold the key to my success, right? Like, so if you're not going to give it to me, somebody else will, and be happy to do that. So what were we going to say, Alexis?
And one more thing that I joke about this with her later, but it was a test. She tested me with breadcrumbs to see how I could handle certain things. If I was ready, Ayesha, like, can she act right in this environment? Will she squander this information? So she did leave little breadcrumbs just to test and make sure I was ready. And once I proved, oh yeah, I'm your girl, then the door was wide open. But yeah, I appreciated that.
And like you said, you can help somebody in the same way. So you know how to help somebody that come along behind you. So I think that's great. One other question for you ladies. So, and I want to ask all of you this, because I actually love this question. What piece of advice would you give to your younger self at the start of your career? Cheryl, I'll start with you.
I would say, don't be fearful. Again, absolute introvert. Even to this day, I've learned, I have extrovert ways. Speak up and share your knowledge. I sat as a software developer doing my work. We talked about this earlier, just doing my work, heads down, hoping that people would see me and promote me. And not everyone will. Lots of people will let you sit there. Luckily, early in my journey, I had an amazing Black supervisor at the time who saw my work. And before she left the company, ensured that not only did I get promoted, but it wasn't just a lateral that I got money with it. And she would not leave until that happened. So what I learned from that is you have to advocate for yourself very early about the things you deserve, the work that you're doing. You have to really communicate the work that you're doing, not assuming that people know. You have to tell them, especially when we do performance reviews and interview reviews, you have to communicate to your leaders. Not all leaders are the same. I'm a leader that kind of knows everything my employees do, but not other leaders are the same, right? They don't care as much. So advocating for yourself about the work you've done throughout the year is super important. And then making sure that you are compensated appropriately as well is critical to your career journey too, because we're not going to be happy if we're not feeling like we're getting paid the way that we think that we should be. But again, advocating for yourself is, I think, the key goal, something I probably would have done a lot sooner. But I did have some examples of that. And I learned from them. It's like, oh, that's why she did that. Oh, I get it now. I understand why she would not let me do these things until these other things happen. And those are the things I have taken with me and share with people that I'm trying to help along the way as well. So I would just say
I love that.
advocation of yourself, yeah, is critical.
I love the fact that you said she would not leave until she saw that you were taken care of, right? Like, to me, that's huge.
It is huge.
And just making sure that you are okay as well, but imparting those things onto you, which is good that you can share with others. So Ayesha, what about you?
Yeah, I think the advocacy is definitely top of the list, but also I would tell myself not to get complacent and don't be too comfortable. Early on in my career, I was like, oh, I've got a good job, got this HR manager job. I'm just going to sit over here and just be the best darn HR manager I can be. And I probably could have fast-tracked myself had I not been so comfortable and complacent in one company, in one job, in one role. And I thought back on it, it was like, just put her over there. She's a hard worker. She'll do her little job. And we don't have to worry about her. And so had I been a little bit more vocal and a little bit less complacent, and I'm happy where I am now. Obviously, we all want to do more and do better, but I think that probably would have gave me like about 7 years had I not sat in one spot somewhere for too long. And I'm not advocating for just quit your job and go do something else, because I don't want people to mistake that for, oh, if you didn't get the opportunity you want to hear, go run over here, because we experience the same things at different places, right? So you go to another company, you experience the same things. So as I've gotten to my big old age of 51, I found that the things that we talked about earlier, the mentorship, the sponsorship, and looking at what's happening around you can help you with that complacency and fast tracking. So don't just run off to that next job thinking that next company is going to give you what you didn't get. Unless they bring you in that next level, do some work on the side, and then look at self. I would tell my little young self, my little 20-some-year-old self, to look inward as well. So that's where I'll leave that.
Those are all really good, especially, like you said, you can be off in a corner, head down and doing all the work, but then no one's necessarily noticing it, and is not noticing it to scream out like, oh, great job, Ayesha, but more so recognizing your talent and moving you along throughout, your career. So I think that's very, very good advice as well. Yes, ma'am, Ayesha.
I could talk about this all night. I'm gonna let Alexis talk, but here's the other thing, just pulling on the HR experience, right? If we sit and just wait for somebody to give us something, this is the place we will remain in. We have to ask for what we want. We have to say, okay, and here's the other thing, they will give you some crumbs. They will give you this to placate you. And those are the places where you have to stand up for yourself and advocate for yourself. And then the whole inner work that I'm talking about, that's where all of those things come into play. But I just want to Ayesha, from being in HR, you've seen people who do really good work and they're never recognized and they never are able to move along. And so that's what I want to help dispel for people in that space, and the things that you need to do, the game that you want to play. You got to be dedicated to the game. If you don't do corporate America, I can't speak for other industries, but if you're going to do it, you got to be dedicated to the game, and you got to understand that it is a game, and it ain't right. It's not you know, I'm not saying it's right, but it is. And so you got to align yourselves with people that can help you with this game.
You have to spend a little time at the water cooler, not at your desk.
There you go. You really do.
Or on the golf course.
Or at the bar drinking a bourbon. Figure out which one you want to do. Do you want to play golf? I don't do golf, but I will sit and drink an old fashioned with somebody. Figure out which one you want to do.
Can be a Coca-Cola. No one knows.
It can be. It sure can. Nobody
Alexis,
knows.
I want to hear what you have to say. What you have to say, Alexis.
First of all, no.
They over here trying to drink. What do you have to say?
What I would tell younger me is take your vacation. I would say invest in your 401k day one. I would say learn to play golf. And I would say don't quit your dream. I think corporate is a calling, personally, just like I think entrepreneurship is a calling. And if you're not called to corporate America, it will frustrate the heck out of you. It will have you doing and saying things and not being yourself and miserable 9 to 5 every day. But if you take it as a calling and this is my place right now and this is where I am to bloom right now, you can grasp it a little better. And I say, don't quit your dream. There was a movie years ago with George Clooney, and he was firing people. And he asked this one guy, he said, how much did you quit your dream for? I was like, what are you talking about? He was like, what did you want to be? The man was in corporate America. He wanted to be a chef, but he stopped pursuing his dream once he hit $60,000. So he sold his chef dream for $60,000 in corporate America. My thing is to you, rock corporate America. Do it. But if it's not your long term, don't quit your dream. Work corporate America. Work your bonuses. Work the other things you get. Work the intel you get. I know how to have houses built from architectures. I know how to start planning 401ks in your 40s. I know a lot of stuff because of where I sat and I learned. And I can take all of this into dreams, into other things. So my thing is, if this is where I am right now, bloom where I am. But don't quit your dream if this is not your ultimate dream. And if this is where you are to be right now, take it as a calling. Take it as I will not be frustrated because this is the lane I'm in right now and I know where it's leading me to. So that's what I would tell younger me. And one more thing I would say.
Yep.
I wouldn't tell younger me, but I would tell younger folks in corporate America 2 things. Come in as high as you can. Because once you get there, it's hard to go higher. When I say that, I know a girl who came in the accounting department with a master's. And her starting salary was $45,000. Once she got in there, $2,000 this year, $2,000 that year. I know a young Caucasian guy with a bachelor degree who came in with $75,000 because he asked for it. He wouldn't take less than. So I think y'all mentioned ask. Worst they can say is yes or no. But if you don't ask, it's an automatic no. So I want younger folks to ask for what you want. If you got a master's, why can't you make that much? Why can't you do that? So I would say ask, and I would say don't be afraid.
Questions that I just put in.
I'm sorry. Don't be afraid to jump around. Not jump around here for 6 months, here for the next 6 months. Right. But if you know you've reached your peak where you are, don't be afraid. Because a lot of times we get comfortable and complacent and like, yeah, I'm going to just stay here and hopefully something. If there's an opening next door and you can move, not even up, but diagonal, go for it. It's a great guy. I love him dearly. And he just recently moved. He said, I reached my peak in that company. He said, this isn't my long term, but it's a step towards where I'm going. And he was bold enough to take that step over here to come back over here and go up. So don't be afraid to do that. So that's what I would tell younger folks.
Can I add one more thing?
Well, first of all, Cheryl, let me just say this real quick.
Yeah.
For those of y'all who don't know Alexis Alexander, okay, this is how she talks to me all the time. And so, no, for real. And I say that because it's like Alexis is definitely that person. And what she's saying is very true. Like when you get frustrated at stuff, because she sees a lot of times I'm frustrated, it's like, okay, but what's your dream? What is it that you really want to do? Right. And I think that is something even for your young self. I wish I would have figured that out. I wish young Ayesha would have figured it out way sooner than now. Right. And so I think that, like you said, like what, work your bonus? What'd you say? Work the bonus?
Yeah.
Yes, work the bonus. You don't need no
Okay.
suit. You need a business license. You need a LLC. You need a trademark. Work it. Work the
So you don't
bonuses.
need any more shoes and no
No.
more clothes. That's what, okay. Gotcha.
No.
Use it for something. I guess.
To build your
Use it for
future, to build your
Yeah.
dream. Yeah.
Yeah. Great advice. Thank you. Cheryl, what were you going to say?
I was just going to add, once I got into like leadership, most of the time you learn things on the job, and your leaders teach you how things operate in your organization, which is fine. But as I kind of continued into that journey over a couple of years, I realized I felt like I was missing something. So I decided to go back and get my MBA. And this was right before the pandemic. So actually the pandemic was kind of a blessing, because I literally had nothing to do and finished my MBA in like 2 years because I was sitting at home, right? But coming out of that, my director and my VP recognized, okay, she knows analytics. She's a software developer. She's a DBA. She's getting this MBA. Uh-oh. Not because I said or presented that I'm moving on to the next thing, but their concern is she is so educated and has a background in all of this, she can go anywhere she wants. And one of the things they did without me asking was gave me a promotion, because they didn't want me to leave. So sometimes if you just do the things that make you happy, do the work that makes you happy, they will see it and opportunities will come. And because of all of those opportunities, I was able to actually go into a more strategic role about 3 or 4 years later, but still have those relationships with the people in my old part of my organization. I still have a bond and a connection with them, but they knew that was the next journey for me. But again, I did something that I felt was important for me, and it actually got me to the next level because it's something I felt strongly about, not because they told me I needed to do it. So we have to know how to balance those things as well.
And I want to jump on really quickly, and then I'll move to our last question for you ladies, because I had tons more questions, but this was really good, and I feel like very insightful. But I will say this, because even when you talked about education, right? And so I have my master's degree as well in human resources. But even I felt like when I got that, it wasn't good enough, right, to move forward. Then it was I was being told you have to get your certification. I finally sat there and got my certification and still felt like it wasn't good enough. But then I'm reaching back and I'm asking people that I know that are executives in HR. And I'm like, did you have to get your certification to move up? And they were like, no. Like the majority of them did not even have their certification. Right. And so I also attribute that, Cheryl, to when you have a good leader, when you have a good person, right, that sees that in you. And then, like you said, they were like, uh-oh, she got her master's, she's about to leave, because they know you're good at what you do and they don't want to see that talent walk out the door. I think sometimes it goes back to, again, when you have good people that are leading you and want to help. And so that doesn't always happen. And so I just wanted to add that in there and you have to promote yourself. That's the other thing, right? Like, no, I have my master's, I have my certification. These things weren't easy to get. So yes, it's okay for me to tell you I got it and to brag about it, right? Because like Alexis said, little Johnny over here, fresh out of undergrad with his bachelor's degree, making more than me, right? And he doesn't even have as much experience. So I just wanted to add that. So my last question for you all, to wrap this up, and I think I mentioned this earlier, but I intentionally scheduled this for tonight, the day before the election. And I did it because we have a Black woman on the ballot. And I think I'm not going to speak for everybody, I'll speak for myself. I see a lot of myself in her, especially during this time. And I remember I did a video and I was talking about that, like this woman who has one of the highest positions in the country is being treated the same way that I am being treated or have been treated, right? And so it's disheartening, but it's also enlightening. I think it is one where I do look at her and I'm like, she just keeps forging through it, right? And she just keeps, staying classy with it and going forward and not letting somebody tell her she's not good enough to do this job. And so that's why I wanted to have this today with you ladies to even, signify that. Like, as Black women, we are awesome. We are wonderful. We have done great and wonderful things in all of our careers, personally and professionally. And so my question for you, all of you, what does it mean to you to see a Black woman on the verge of becoming the president of the United States? Whoever would like to start, jump in.
I'll start. I'll tell you, I sit a little straighter. I am way more confident in meetings in some cases. I am just so excited about the prospects that we have. Do I think it's going to turn some light on and tomorrow everything is going to be fantastic and everybody's going to treat each other the way they should? No. But to your point, the way that she's being marginalized, the way that she has to be even better against someone who is mediocre, and that's giving a lot of credit. And I'm sorry,
little Johnny
on the call,
little Johnny over there,
Johnny, little Johnny. But that she has to be perfect at all times, and I think a lot of times we feel that same way. How must she feel? How must she feel? But I hope that she feels our strength behind her, helping push her along. But I'm just excited about the prospect. But I'm not going to lie and tell you, I look at people sideways now because I'm like, we got a Black woman running for president, and there ain't too much you can tell me right now. So we'll just kind of keep plugging on through tomorroh.
Ooh,
that's how I feel.
You said wait until tomorrow, right? We'll see what happens tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll see what
Cheryl,
happens. But my back is
Alexis.
straight.
This is absolutely amazing. This is the perfect time for her to run for president. All things aligned. She's going to be our president. I love her poise, her grace. She has not flinched from her beliefs and how she's operated. She has stayed true to herself. And that's who we are every single day in corporate America. So she is a reminder of all the things all of us are doing in all of our careers. And we've done it the entire time. Regardless of what people have said, she is the vision of who we have had to be all the time. And to me, that is important because now the world gets to see all the things we already knew about how we are as employees, as leaders, as friends, as everything. We are everything to everyone. We always have been, we always will be. And she is proving that point to the world. The narrative that we talked about earlier is going to dissipate because she is going to continue to show them her leadership. She's been ready, but we knew that. Now they get. And so that excites me. It keeps me motivated in my job to make sure I'm doing the right thing because I know in my space, I'm in analytics. That is definitely not a space they want me to be in. But I'm going to be ready and be the example so that the sisters behind me can come and do this job because I'm not going to be here always. That's right, just as she is setting the stage for the rest of our young people as well. So I'm super excited. I can't wait to wear my shirt tomorrow. I'm already ready to go.
Look, I don't think I could wear. I have my hair is for president. If I get on Zoom calls, I don't think that would be appropriate. But at this point, hey, Alexis.
So I want to. First of all, I was remiss and didn't thank you earlier. Thank you so much for having me on panel. It was a pleasure and an honor. But to see Madam Vice President at the cusp of possibly becoming the first African-American female president, I'm proud. I didn't know if I'd see it in my lifetime. I was happy. We had President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama.
Yes.
So to even have this opportunity before us, I think it's magnificent. Let me tell you what I do think. I had this conversation with the manager. She was so proud to me, and she was like, "My department looks like United Nations." I said, "Really?" She said, "Yeah, I have a person from Russia. I have some African Americans. I have."
Did you call the HR hotline?
No, I have a lady from China. And her department does look like United Nations. I said, "That's wonderful." I said, "What does your leadership table look like?" Little Johnny's. So with me, with Madam Vice President coming forward, the
Mhm.
table changes.
Mhm.
All the little Johnnies now have a Black face there as well. And if the
Mhm.
table changes, the conversation changes. And
Mm.
that's what I'm, to me, most excited about. Like Ayesha talked about, if you're in the room, say something. Sometimes we weren't in the room. But now
Mhm.
that we're in the room, I see conversations changing, not just pro-Black, pro-woman, but the conversation, period, will not have
Mhm.
one dimension. It will now be at least two multidimensional. So that's what
Mhm.
I'm most excited about. One, never thought I'd see it, but two, it's a new face at the table. Therefore,
Yeah.
the conversation has to change.
Yeah.
Yep. And then go ahead, Cheryl. What were you gonna say?
I'm just going to say, I do want us to offer her grace. I think
Mhm.
when she wins, we can't expect her to do everything because we know that there's a government involved here.
Mhm.
I think we are hard on each other. We have to offer her grace.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We can be very critical to our own people.
Oh yeah.
Not
Yes.
that to give her the opportunity. So I think that's the next place my mind is when on November 6th, you know,
Mhm.
when
And
she
I also think too on the other piece too, I think is great, wonderful, and all those things. You know, anybody that knows me, I'm super excited about this, and I have since she threw her hat in the ring. But the other side to that too is I'm also nervous. I'm also, yeah, I'm a little scared. I'm nervous, and what I mean by that is, will this make it harder for us? And I'm just speaking honestly, right? Like, will it make it harder? Will somebody sit back and say, well, who does she think she is? Kamala Harris, you know, and almost try to like put you in your place. Does that make sense? So I
It
don't
made a
want it
lot
to
of
be that way. Yeah, I don't want it to be that way. And I hope it won't be. But I also think about when Barack Obama won. Like the narrative shift. Like when I tell you the next day when I walked into my office and just people who were normally kind and nice and spoke didn't do that. Like this was a real thing. And
Mhm.
it just really, I think, brought it back to reality for me. Like, wow, this is our world, right? And we have to
Yeah.
be prepared for that. So I know we're over time. Does anybody have any questions? I saw a lot of comments, which I think were fantastic. Sarisa, thank you again for reminding me to record this. I just got started and I meant to make a note to myself. So thank you for that. But really great comments, great feedback, Ayesha. You know, I love that she did that for you. Ashanti said, I think that was with Delta. Alexis, trust and discretion is important. Do not let others' opinion change your direction. All leaders are not created equal. Absolutely. Say it, work your bonus, get everything available in the current role for future roles. Do not fear negotiating ever. Bet on you. Yep. Promote yourself and be prepared to do the work. Not everyone is your advocate.
Yep.
Now Tiffany, you just said a word. Each of you ladies are out. Okay, thank you, Donna. Each of you ladies are outstanding, and this conversation is really good. Thank you so much. And then if you want to connect, Latricia put her information on there. Ashanti did. Tiffany did as well. I would love for you all to connect with me as well on LinkedIn, and hopefully you ladies that are on the panel wouldn't mind that too. Thank you, Phoebe, for the compliment as well. Does anybody have any questions they want to ask at this time before we close out? If you do, it's time to ask them now.
Ayesha, I have to comment while people are thinking about the question to what you said. You know, journey, they've always moved the needle when we give them. So we are resilient. We know how to move and deal with them. What I've learned from the pandemic and even now is I want people to tell me who they are right now.
Ooh,
So
yeah.
I know how to deal and operate with them. I'd rather know who you are. So when I look at your Facebook, I look at your Instagram and I see what you post, I'm not going to say anything, but now I know who I'm dealing with and how to deal with you, whether it's personally or professionally. To me, that's the best thing I have received from the pandemic until now, because people are being their authentic selves and telling their truths. And I needed to know that. We need to know that. We need to know that we are putting ourselves in better position by knowing than not knowing.
Yes.
So know how to navigate those people. Because the person you thought was actually an advocate may have been an adversary, right? And actually harming you and excelling.
Yes.
So now that I
Yeah.
see you, and I'm gonna let you tell me who you are, I know how to
Mhm.
move around you to get to the things
Mhm.
that I need to. So I take it as an opportunity, not a
Yeah.
negative.
No, I agree. Like you said, I'd rather for you to show yourself now than later, right? And it is pushing a lot of people out to show who they are in these times. So that is very true. Ashanti said, question, when is the next session? Well, hopefully that will probably be next month. And Ashanti, you already know you're gonna be on one of these. So she trying to, when's the next session? Look, she probably was like, no, Ayesha. But to close out, thank you all for joining us tonight for the From Margins to Mainstream Black Women Rewriting Corporate Narratives. This conversation has been powerful. A powerful reminder of our resilience, our brilliance, and strength that Black women bring to corporate and entrepreneurship as well. We've heard stories of triumph, perseverance, and the impact of what kind of leadership we have in front of us. So together, we're not only reshaping narratives, we're creating lasting change for the future. And as we close, let's carry forward the insight shared today. Let's continue to uplift one another, to challenge the status quo, and to make space for the next generation of Black women leaders. Our work doesn't end here. It's only just beginning. Thank you for your time, your voices, your commitment to transforming corporate spaces. And last little plug, don't forget, if you haven't voted already, make sure that you go out and vote tomorrow. I'm not telling you who to vote for, but I am telling you to exercise that right. Alexis, Cheryl, Ayesha. I'm trying not to cry. Y'all gonna get me later, but
Kudos to you. Proud
thank
of
you
you.
for being my first guest and for being willing to do this for me. I really appreciate it. You all were absolutely awesome. And I know everybody got something from it. And I am a crybaby. I'm sorry, but this was something that God put in my spirit to do a long time ago. And I did not do it. And I finally stepped out and I did it. So thank you all for your support. The people that logged on and registered, thank you so much. I really appreciate it that you took the time out tonight to join us and to listen to the things that we had to say. So yes, be on the lookout for another seminar or webinar. And I hope y'all have a great night. I'll go in here and wipe my tears, but thank you so much. I really appreciate all of it.